Hello and welcome to Middle Eastern Thursday. So today, guys, I will be reviewing for you the entire Armaf Eter collection. This collection was launched in 2024, probably about a couple of months ago, and I've had the fragrances with me for about a little bit over a month. So I've had the opportunity to test them and use them on skin several times, and today I'm ready to give you all of the details around this collection. Now, this collection has 8 fragrances, but I had shared with you Arabian Sky, which is one of them, which comes in like the turquoise bottle. I had shared that one with you in a previous Middle Eastern Thursday. But today, because I'm reviewing the 7, I will be also touching again on Arabian Sky so that I can just give you a full review of all 8 fragrances that are a part of this collection. First, I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about the collection overall. Then we're going to jump right into it, and I'm going to start by reviewing the one that I like the least, and I will continue to move on until we reach the one that I love the most. Anyway, guys, but before we jump right in, if this is your first time here, I'm Arahi, and I'm your fragrance concierge because I'm totally committed to creating the best fragrance experience for you. I upload videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays, and sometimes you even get a bonus video for the week. If that sounds like the type of content that you're interested in and like a good plan, then please consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget, leave a comment. Let's go. So let me start by telling you that there are 8 fragrances in this collection, and I honestly don't love all 8 fragrances, and I'm not even liking all 8 fragrances. So as I share them with you from my least favorite to my most, I'll talk a little bit more about that. What I can tell you about this collection is that it seems to me that they try to include every single scent profile as to give people an option, to have a fragrance that they may like within the collection. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is that the fragrance does come in a 100 ml bottle. It is very important that you spray them out as soon as you receive them, and then you allow them to sit for about a week, and then you try them on skin, because at least for the fragrances that I'll be sharing with you today, that made quite a bit of a difference. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about the packaging. So this is the box that they all come in, and depending on the specific fragrance, you can distinguish one from the other based on the color. And of course, the box is the same color as the fragrance. So for example, this one is a desert flower, and it comes in this box. Let me just bring it closer. And then, of course, in the back, you have all of the information. And I'm also going to share with you here the back of one of the boxes, because all of the boxes that I received had the same production date of April of 2024. That's why I was able to test the fragrance without much concern about it needing to sit or macerate for several months, because they've already been out for several months. But still, I'm sure they're still in the maceration process. But I do find that they performed really well, and they didn't give me the impression of needing to really sit much longer before I could really test them and share with you my conclusions. So they all come in this box, as I said before. And when you open it, there is the fragrance. And of course, this is the red bottle. And as you can see, it has like this ribbon which allows you to pull on it so that the bottle comes out. There's a lot of detail in this packaging, which is why I want to share that with you. And then, as I'm sure you can notice, there's a slot here. And in that slot is where you're supposed to put this single tassel that will fit perfectly into that slot. The box does not feel cheap at all. There are no stickers on the box. This is a plaque, guys. And all of this, which simulates the texture that you find in the bottle, is also very, very nicely done. So this is what all the bottles look like, just in a different color, but pretty much they're the same bottle. just different colors. And I'm sure that you can see that it has this like crown looking cap, and this is not a sticker, guys. This is a plaque. And then of course it has a very nice beveled, the bottle has a beveled finish, and then it has like all of these little gold foils that when you touch them you can actually feel them, and they're not a sticker either, guys. Very, very nicely done. Then the bottle also has this single tassel, and the single tassel has like this plaque that's attached to it, and on one side it says Armaf, and on the other side it says Eter for the Eter collection. It does feel very, very luxurious. There's nothing cheap about the feel of the packaging or the bottle of any of the fragrances in this collection. The cap, as I said before, is quite weighty. It's not as weighty as a Royal Crown cap, but it is quite weighty. There is not a cheap feel at all to it. And the bottle, my goodness, the bottle is very, very weighty, and it feels very, very luxurious. Also, the atomizer, oh my goodness, guys. I'm not going to spray it in here because if I spray it, then I won't be able to smell anything else, but we'll talk more about that later. But the atomizer is perfect. It's one of those atomizers that has like an open kind of spritz effect. It's just a beautifully done atomizer that will capture whatever area you really spray it on in an open and like mist kind of way, without being like too heavy or overspraying or anything like that. So as I said in the beginning, this collection was launched, I would say about maybe 2 to 3 months ago, but I can tell you that upon launch, the collection pretty much sold out. So in the Armaf USA site, it was sold out for a while, and just recently did they bring back a couple of them, but the entire collection is not available. Now, each fragrance in the Armaf USA site does retail for $125. But do not worry, because I have a link in the description box for you to where you can get it for around $40. So please be sure to use the link, which also helps the channel. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with the one that is my least favorite, and I'm speaking about Desert Flower. Now guys, as soon as I sprayed this fragrance, it reminded me of Mancera's Cedrat Boisé, which is a fragrance that I'm really not into. I've never really liked it. So, you know, if you are into that fragrance, then I think you'll really appreciate this one. I'm not saying that they're exactly the same, but they definitely give me a very, very similar vibe. So this fragrance, guys, opens up very, very sweet. And it also has a very strong leather note. And I love leather fragrances, but I just don't like this opening. So this is very sweet. It does have that leather that I pick up on immediately upon the opening. It's very musky, and almost immediately when I first pick up the leather, it's followed by a very dominant patchouli note. It also has quite a bit of white florals, and there is like a bit of an animalic quality to it, and it does have a powdery dry down. But I'm telling you guys, I just removed the cap and I put it right back because this is not a fragrance that I enjoy. But if you are into those types of notes, then maybe this is one, or if you are into Mancera's Cedrat Boisé, then this is one that you're absolutely going to love, because that is really what I'm getting from this fragrance. They are very, very similar. In addition to that animalic quality, I also find this to have quite a bit of earthiness, and I'm pretty sure that it's coming from the patchouli. What I also find very interesting while testing this one on skin, which this is the only one that I only tested on skin one time, because again, I just don't enjoy this fragrance. I just really don't like it at all. But with this fragrance, I found it rather interesting because to me, this fragrance is very, very warm, spicy. The level of spiciness in this fragrance, especially in the opening to my nose, is very, very dominant and pronounced. There is a good deal of spices in this fragrance, even though they have not disclosed them. This is a fragrance that you could probably use in any season throughout the year. And for those who love this scent profile, I'm sure that this would be a very lovely signature scent. I think it's appropriate for day, night occasions, and all occasions actually. I wouldn't put a limit on it. I also think that this is a fragrance that is best suited for 25 plus, and I can tell you that there is absolutely no oud in this fragrance. This fragrance does not lean to the feminine or to the masculine side. It is truly a unisex fragrance, just like Mancera Cedra Boisé. This is also a fragrance that performs really, really well, as it will give you a full day wear. It does have a strong projection during the first, I would say, 90 minutes. After that, it does become a skin scent, but it will give you a full day wear, and it does have a moderate sillage. This is my least favorite, but it's just because of my personal preference. This is not a scent profile that I really enjoy. And if you are into this type of scent profile, this is a very good fragrance, a lovely fragrance. It's not that it has a horrible smell or anything. I'm just really not into it, that's all. So the next one, again, going from my least favorite to my most favorite. So coming in at number 7, we have Desert Star. So Desert Star comes in the same type of box, but it's just, navy colored with the same gold foil finish. And here is the bottle. So Desert Star, guys, gives me the vibe. It gave me the vibe from the very beginning of like a Dior Homme, right? But not the Dior Homme Intense, no, the Dior Homme, the original. And I could be totally wrong because I really haven't sniffed that fragrance in a very long time. But I'm not saying that this one was inspired by Dior Homme. I'm just saying that upon initial spray, what it brought to mind was Dior Homme. So at least there is at least a very similar vibe. So this one opens up very, very fresh and spicy, right? So my nose picks up on quite a bit of spice at the opening, but it is a fresh opening, right? So although it opens with those fresh citrusy notes, there is a spiciness, and I can clearly distinguish that it is pink pepper that my nose is picking up. And that opening is quite strong. This fragrance is also very, very aromatic, very aromatic. It has quite a bit of woodiness, and it is a musky fragrance. There's also an earthy quality to this fragrance, but in this one, the earthiness is just done very, very nicely compared to the previous one. That I think that between the animalic quality and that earthy quality in the previous one, I was just not loving it. But this one was done very smoothly. This is also not one of my favorites. This one is not a dislike like the previous one for me. It's just not a fragrance that I'm into. This one also has absolutely no oud, and I think that it is appropriate for any age, to be honest with you. But if I had to be a little bit picky, I would say that 25 plus is the best group for it. This is also one that if you're into this type of scent profile, you could probably make it your signature scent all throughout the year, and you could use it day or night. And I just wouldn't use this for the gym because this really does perform very, very well. And if you start perspiring, it does tend to like intensify a bit. So this is not one that I would recommend for sports or any situation where you're going to be perspiring. This fragrance to me is absolutely unisex. It doesn't lean to any of the two sides. Even if I were trying to say, well, it leans to this or to that side, no, I think this fragrance is pretty unisex. You will get a full day wear without having to overspray with this fragrance, and it does have a moderate projection and a moderate sillage. Okay, so coming in at number 6 is Eter Magical Oud, which comes in this beautiful brown box. Here is the fragrance. So as much research as I tried to do on this one, I couldn't find any fragrance that I can honestly say this one was inspired by. And the only one that maybe the note structure broached a little bit was Viktor & Rolf's Spice Bomb. But my husband owns that fragrance, and when I compared them side by side, I'm really not getting Spice Bomb. I will tell you though that the star of this fragrance, guys, is the note of tobacco. So if you are not into tobacco fragrances, this one is definitely not for you, because the tobacco is a note that I pick up from first sniff and all throughout the wear of the fragrance. Now, I do love a good note of tobacco, but To my nose, the tobacco in this fragrance is a little bit overpowering. So again, you really must love the note of tobacco in an intense way. This fragrance opens primarily with quite a bit of woodiness. Like at first sniff, you're gonna get all those woody notes immediately. But then within the woody notes, you start to pick up on that tobacco. And the tobacco is quite prominent in the fragrance. It's also a sweet fragrance that is very aromatic, and it is warm spicy. There's quite a bit of florals in here, but the florals, although I pick them up clearly, they're always like in the background and a bit weak. They're not completely weak, but they're almost like faint in the background because again, the tobacco and those woody notes definitely control the scene. Very important to know, something that adds to that woodiness of the fragrance overall, and which has been done, by the way, exquisitely, is the note of oud. And the oud here, so that we just cover that immediately, is about a 3 out of 5. So it's not an intense oud like a 4 or a 5, but it's definitely an oud that is present. And the oud is present from the first moment you pick up on those woody notes in the first sniff all throughout the wear of the fragrance. So again, there's a couple of things that you have to love in order to enjoy this fragrance. You have to enjoy truly a woody fragrance that has a dominant note of tobacco paired with a very, very nicely done but present note of oud. Truly, to me, a unisex fragrance. This is a fragrance that I can definitely see. And honestly, guys, sometimes I sniff it and I love it. And at other times, especially when I spray it on skin and I have to go through the entire olfactory journey based on how it, projects from my skin, it is just a bit much because this is a very intense fragrance. This is one that you're going to get a full day's wear without having to overspray. I would say that this is more for like the fall and winter seasons. I would definitely say that this requires a certain level of maturity. So I would say this is like a 30 plus fragrance. And it is definitely one that, although it has the oud, it is just such a beautifully done fragrance, which has quite a bit of character, and to some may even border on being a bit sexy. I think that this is a fragrance that would be perfect, not like a signature fragrance, but it would be perfect for any occasion, day or night. And I really have to say that I kind of like this fragrance. I think that what it is that I'm more on the fence about it than anything. That's why I can't tell you that I even like it, because I'm still like on the fence. And I think that it's a matter of adjusting my nose to that very strong combination of oud and tobacco and the woody notes, because if they would have brought in the florals, at least to my nose, a little bit more to soften the intensity of those other notes, it would have for sure probably been a love for me, because I do love a good note of tobacco and I love oud, but I just find that those are just so intense that sometimes it's just a bit overwhelming for me. Right, guys, so we're entering now number 5, and I'm just sniffing it again because this is another one that I'm like on the fence about. Sometimes I sniff it. If I sniff it on paper, it is a love for me. But when I try it on my skin, let's talk more about it. All right, so coming in at number 5, we have Desert Night. And Desert Night comes in this black box. And of course, like all the others, you just open it and there is the bottle, just a beautiful bottle. Let me start by telling you that this is the one fragrance that I could not find any fragrance that, maybe it was inspired by, and I couldn't match the notes in any way to any other fragrance. When sniffing it, it didn't remind me of anything, so I just wonder. But what I can tell you is that this is a very intense fragrance, and most importantly, guys, it is such a sexy and alluring fragrance. This is so sexy. This is the type of fragrance that you would definitely use when you're like looking to wear a completely black outfit. And if you're a female, then you would wear like a red lipstick. Oh my goodness, with some very high heels, but you're completely dressed in black and you are just looking to put on that sexy side of you for a night outing. To me, this is not a daytime fragrance at all. This is definitely a nighttime fragrance, and for nighttime occasions where you really want to feel and look very sexy. Before I even share with you the olfactory journey, I have to tell you that this fragrance is definitely unisex, but leans, in my opinion, heavy to the masculine side. Is this a fragrance that I would personally use? I think I would, but I would have to layer it with something that softens it a bit to bring that bit of femininity to it, because I just really believe that this is more masculine than feminine. So this fragrance is very, very woody. And it's very ambery. This is an amber woody fragrance. And this fragrance also has a note of leather, but the note of leather, which is, in my opinion, what gives it that sexy edge, has been done very smoothly, very nicely, even better than the previous fragrance where I shared that there was the note of leather. In that one, I could pick up the leather quite strong. In this one, I pick up the leather, but the leather is smooth and done beautifully. There's also quite a bit of citrus notes that are not in the opening of the fragrance, because the opening of the fragrance is controlled by the woody notes and that warm, spicy quality with the spices. But then as the olfactory journey continues, for some reason, the fragrance becomes a bit fresh and citrusy, but this is not a fragrance that's fresh for the summer, in my opinion. I think that this is perfect for like maybe fall, winter, and the opening of spring. I just don't see anybody using this for the summer, because again, this is a fragrance to me that was definitely designed to be worn with a black kind of like leather outfit where you are definitely feeling sexy. As part of that spiciness, you're going to pick up quite strongly on the note of cinnamon. There's also some patchouli, which gives the fragrance quite a bit of character, and it does have a powdery dry down. This is a fragrance that performs beautifully, guys. Without having to overspray, you are going to get 10 plus hours on skin, and on clothes it will linger forever. This is a very intense fragrance, and it is also a fragrance that I find to be rather dark. So I don't think that this is for daytime. Again, this is not for daytime events or occasions. It doesn't have to be a formal event during the evening or night, but definitely has to be an evening or nighttime type of occasion, whether it's informal or formal or otherwise. I pick up on no oud in this fragrance, and I would definitely say that this is okay for 25 plus. All right, guys, so I can tell you that the next 4 fragrances that I'm going to be sharing with you are all fragrances that I super enjoy from this collection. These 4, oh wow. And I'm going to start here at number 4 with Perfume Oasis. And then check out the bottle. Look at that, guys. Isn't that just beautiful? So this is one that I've really been looking forward to sharing with you, because to me, I'm going to tell you from the start, this to me is like if Herba Pura and Tom Ford's Bitter Peach had a baby. That's really what this fragrance smells like to me, and I am loving it. So when the fragrance opens, it does open very, very fruity. You know how I've talked to you time and time again about Herba Pura and a couple of other fragrances from Middle Eastern houses that have been inspired by Herba Pura, and I tell you that I really don't appreciate that type of fragrance because I'm not into fruity bombs, right? I love a good fruity fragrance, but when it's a fruit bomb, it just does something to me. But in this one, so the opening, it is quite fruity, but the fruitiness is so airy. I don't know how they've done it, but I am here for it. It is a beautiful opening that immediately will remind you of Herba Pura, but much more airier. In addition to that airiness that you feel with that fruity opening, you immediately start to pick up on some florals, and those florals give this fragrance a twist from Herba Pura immediately, because you're going to pick up on jasmine and freesia. And although those are white florals that can be quite dominant, they do not take that dominant role. They actually play very, very well with the fruity notes of the opening. Another thing that I love about this fragrance is that there's a woodiness to the fragrance that you pick up on probably about 5 minutes from first sniff. You're going to start to pick up on that woodiness. It's a woodiness that I find here, but that I don't find in Herba Pura, which I have come to understand I am loving. And I think that that's part of the twist between the white florals and those woody notes. I am loving it. I wish Herba Pura had something like that. Now let's talk about the bitter peach portion, because I would say once the fragrance starts to approach dry down is when I start to get sniffs that remind me completely of Tom Ford's Bitter Peach. But what I can tell you is that in Tom Ford's Bitter Peach, I find like a bit of a booziness that I do not find in this fragrance. I wish it did have a little bit of that booziness, but you're not going to find the booziness that you find in Bitter Peach, you are not going to find in this fragrance. In addition to that booziness not being present, there's also a spiciness that you pick up on in Bitter Peach that you're not going to find in this fragrance. But other than that, I tell you, when the fragrance opens, to me, it's almost Herba Pura, with the exception of that you're going to get those florals and you're also going to get that woodiness. But then as you approach dry down, then you are going to have a fragrance that's going to definitely remind you of Bitter Peach, but without the booziness and the spiciness. At the dry down, you are going to get a beautiful, beautiful scent that is like a mix of Tom Ford's Bitter Peach and Xerjoff's Herba Pura. Although this fragrance does have some oud, I'm going to tell you that unless you are used to picking up on the note of oud, you are not going to pick up on oud, because I'm telling you, the stars are the peach, those florals, those woody notes. There is so much going on in this fragrance, but it's been done so beautifully. Now, the oud does add character to the fragrance, even though you're barely going to pick it up. I can tell you that to me, this fragrance is a unisex fragrance that does lean a tad to the feminine side. Can I see a gentleman wearing this fragrance? Absolutely. I think that this fragrance is perfect for any age, and it is also a fragrance that you can pull off for any occasion, day or night, and it is one that I really think you could use in any season of the year. At the dry down, you're also going to get a bit of powderiness, so you have to make sure that you do appreciate a powdery fragrance. It's not very powdery, but you are going to get some powderiness. This fragrance, as far as performance, is not a beast mode fragrance and is not as intense as the previous one that we covered, but it is definitely a fragrance that will get you at least 7 hours without having to overspray. It does have a strong projection in the first 90 minutes, and then it becomes a skin scent, but it's a skin scent that will be with you all throughout the day. Oh my goodness, guys. Now this next one, I have to tell you, I am bordering on obsessed with this one. I think I haven't been able to obsess myself with it because I have so many other fragrances that are in the test cycle right now that I can't just focus on using this one for several days in a row at a time. But this next one, Desert Rose. So it comes in this beautiful like baby pink box, as you can see. And of course, here is the bottle. Look how beautiful, guys. Oh, wow. I hope the camera is picking up on it. Now, let me tell you what has me so excited about this fragrance. So if you've been with me for a while, you guys know that I love rose fragrances. And one of my favorites, my favorite rose fragrance is Bidou Nissan, okay? From Ahmed Al-Maghribi, but that is followed very closely with Giorgio Armani's Privé line, Rose d'Arabie. Oh my goodness. But this one, let me tell you what I think this one is. I think that this is like if Rose d'Arabie had a baby with, ready? Maison Crivelli's Oud Maracuja. Oh my goodness. When I tell you this is exquisite, guys, exquisite. So this is coming in at number 3 because the other two, of course, you know, I must really love those other two if I'm talking like this about this one. But this is just exceptional to me. I just absolutely love it. The stars of this fragrance are the patchouli, the vanilla, the rose, the saffron, and continuously in the background, the note of oud. Now this fragrance, I am telling you, it is for me like unmistakably, I can almost at times pick up Rose d'Arabie and at times I can pick up Oud Maracuja, and it is just such a beautiful fusion of those two scent profiles. There is a fruity quality to the fragrance, but it's not like I can necessarily smell the passion fruit. It's a quality which gives the fragrance a bit of a tropical twist. But no, this is not just a summer fragrance. I really think that this is a fragrance that you can use all throughout the year because I'm telling you, it pulls from so many different scent profiles. I just absolutely love it. Then to add some character to the fragrance, there's a touch of leather here, and I just pick up a touch of leather, not really much. There's some woodiness. Then to add some like character to the fragrance, there's some leather here, but to my nose, it's a touch of leather. It's not anything of significance. Then there's that woodiness. It's very ambery. It is just, I tell you, and there's some patchouli, like I said before, and the patchouli brings like a creaminess to the dry down along with powderiness. As far as the oud goes, because I know as soon as I say oud, there may be a concern. I would say that from the oud meter standpoint, this fragrance has like a 1 out of 5. That's how light the oud is. So with 5 being the most intense and 1 the least, I would tell you that this fragrance is like a 1 on oud because you can barely pick it up. What you are going to pick up is on that animalic quality that may confuse you if you're not used to really sniffing oud fragrances a lot. You may think that that's oud, but no, that animalic quality is the one that's giving the fragrance that additional oomph. As I said before, I really think that this fragrance is a fragrance that you can pull throughout any season of the year. But if I have to be really picky, I would say that this is perfect for spring, winter, and fall. And definitely not a summer fragrance, even though I will definitely be using it as I have this summer. This is also a fragrance that I think is best suited for 25 plus, and I think it is truly a unisex fragrance. Although it has, some florals and it has that sweetness that I talked about, this is not a fragrance that I think leans to the feminine or to the masculine side. I think this is perfectly, beautifully unisex. Overall, guys, I would say that the performance of this fragrance is also very good because it will give you a full day wear. It does have a strong projection only during the first hour. Then it becomes a scent bubble, and towards the end of that wear period, you are just going to get a skin scent. This is not one that I've oversprayed because I really don't think that you need to. This is not one that I'm looking to be super intense. I just want to enjoy the beauty of the fragrance. Hey guys, so we're down to the last 2. So needless to say, I have very strong feelings about these 2. And it was so hard to pick a number 1 between these 2 that are going to follow, but one of them had to be a number 2, but this could have been a number 1 because I am absolutely loving this fragrance. And this one is Desert Breeze, and it comes in this beautiful white box. And like the others, here's the bottle. Look at that beauty. Let me just tell you that when I first sprayed this fragrance, I just said, wow. And I sprayed it on paper because I always start with paper to try and get like an objective view and take my notes. So let me tell you what it is about me and this fragrance. So there is such a beautifully unique combination of things going on here. So there is definitely oud in this fragrance, and I would say that the oud here is a 3 out of 5. It's an oud that is present all throughout the olfactory journey and the wear of the fragrance. But at that, the oud has like this freshness to it combined with citrus notes. It is such a fresh feel to this fragrance. But the funny thing is that freshness is not like the freshness that you would look for in a summer fragrance. No, it's just a fresh fragrance that is really like an oud and citrus notes type of fragrance with some woody notes. But at the end, it is a fresh fragrance that you could probably use all throughout the year. And the interesting thing is that in the opening, you're going to get the white florals. It opens with a ton of white florals. It's like a complete bouquet of white florals. And then it immediately brings in the oud. And as I said before, the oud is not overpowering. It plays really well with the white florals. And then I start to get those woody notes in the background along with that freshness of the citrus notes. So the opening is not about the citrus notes to my nose. It's about the white florals and the oud, like establishing the ground on how they're going to get along with one another, and then allowing the rest of the woody notes and the citrusy notes to make their debut. In addition to fresh, this fragrance is also quite musky, and you must like a powdery dry down because this is truly a powdery dry down. But it is so beautiful, guys. It's not cloying or anything like that. It is just fresh from beginning to end. This is also a fragrance that performs really well for being such a fresh fragrance because you will get a full day wear. If I overspray it, it will give me 8 hours. If I don't overspray it, it'll give me about 6.5 hours. And it does have a strong projection and a moderate sillage. But it is also one that will get you quite a bit of compliments because there is something so different about it. Like, there's this freshness while having like this character brought on by the oud. This fragrance is definitely a unisex fragrance, leaning a tad towards the feminine side, but I can tell you, I can see a gentleman wearing this without any problem. I just think that it's unisex, leaning a tad towards the feminine side because of that smoothness and those florals. And the florals don't take a front role at any given moment. They're always blended very well, but I just feel that there's a tad of a feminine touch to the fragrance. I think that this is perfect for any season of the year, day or night, and any occasion. Overall, guys, I really am absolutely in love with this fragrance. I have nothing like this in my collection, and I haven't been able to figure out what, if anything, it was inspired by, but at this point I don't care because I'm keeping it. I absolutely love it. So I'm sure you already know that my number one pick is definitely Arabian Sky. And this is, in case you didn't catch that video, this is the one that I had already shared with you in a previous Middle Eastern Thursday haul. And I absolutely loved it from first sniff, and nothing has changed. I think that I've actually become even more obsessed and love it more than I did from the beginning because this fragrance is just exquisite. So it comes in this like turquoise box, and like the others, here is the fragrance. Now, let me tell you, when I first shared it with you, I didn't pick up on it because I was so mesmerized and happy with the fragrance itself. But as I've tried it on skin a couple of times now, I can tell you that what this fragrance gives me is like a twist on Bleu de Chanel. Now, Bleu is supposed to be a male fragrance. But to me, honestly, that fragrance is unisex. And if I layer it, because my husband does own it and sometimes I'll just pull it from him. And if you layer it with another fragrance, it is definitely a fragrance that any lady can get, away with wearing. But this fragrance, to me, it's almost like if they on purpose used maybe like the Bleu de Chanel scent profile and gave it a twist just to make this fragrance unisex leaning feminine, because to me this is not a strict unisex fragrance. No, to me this is unisex leaning feminine, and it is giving me like the Bleu de Chanel type of vibe, but with that feminine twist that allows it to be worn by females. I know that I had already talked to you about this fragrance, but because I've had the opportunity to use it on skin now more than the first time that I shared it with you, I wanted to let you know, and also because I was ranking the fragrances. So this fragrance is a very woody fragrance, but the woodiness, oh my goodness, this fragrance is just done so beautifully, guys. This woodiness is just perfection. So this woodiness in the opening like combines a musky quality to it also, because this is a very, at least to my nose, a very musky fragrance. So it opens up with all those woody notes. It brings in that musky quality immediately. It's very aromatic and it's very powdery, guys. This is not like a powdery dry down fragrance. No, to my nose, this fragrance is powdery from first sniff all throughout the olfactory journey, and of course throughout the entire wear. This is truly a powdery fragrance. It also has quite a bit of patchouli, but the patchouli plays very well with all the other notes. And it also has a bit of an animalic quality, which at least to my nose just adds character to the fragrance. The thing about this fragrance is the performance also, guys, because without having to overspray, this does give me a full day wear. And most importantly, it has a very strong sillage that will guarantee you compliments. This is definitely a compliment getting type of fragrance. This is also one that I think is appropriate for any age. It has no oud. I don't pick up on any oud, and they haven't disclosed any oud note. So there is no oud. And I think that it's appropriate for any occasion, day or night. This is also to me one that is perfect for any season. I would just be a little bit cautious when using it during the summer because it is an intense fragrance, at least to my nose. So you, in my opinion, may not want to wear it on a very, very, very warm summer day if you're going to be outside. All right, guys, so we have reached the end of today's video, and I hope that this was enjoyable for you as always. I have to tell you, these 8 fragrances have been quite a marathon of testing for me, as I'm sure you can imagine. And all throughout this video, I had my notes with me because there is no way that I could have captured all of that for 8 fragrances in one collection. But I have to tell you, the last 4 fragrances, the top 4 fragrances, are ones that I really didn't even need the notes because they really made a mark in my heart. I'm absolutely loving them. They are all truly, truly nice performing fragrances that also make me feel really good and smell absolutely exquisite. If you've tried any of the fragrances in this collection, please let me know in the comments box and let us know your opinion. I also want to know if you're planning to pick up any of these fragrances, and if you are, I want to know which one and why. I'm just very curious because there's such a collection here, and that allows me to know what some of the fam members are truly into as it relates to a specific scent profile. As always, guys, thank you so much for hanging with me today. To all of our new fam members, welcome to our fragrance loving family. And to all of you, I will see you in the next video.